How's your Friday night going? Hopefully well. I'm Rob. I do a live news commentary, live stream Monday through Friday. Hence I'm here, it's Friday. We're going to talk about a little bit of the news. The news is so polluted with politics right now, you're not going to be able to escape it. I don't watch the nightly news or anything like that. I get all my news from reading stuff, and then tracking down authors of articles and find out what their bias is. Here, my bias is very, very radical. I believe that workers should be able to work one job and pay rent and go on vacation and have food to eat and transportation. Radical. It's so funny that that is radical. Here we are. Let this be a document and testament to where we are, the United States of America in 2024. I am considered a radical because I believe you should be able to work one job and afford rent, vacation, transportation, food, utilities, one off of one job. That's radical to say nowadays. And I don't mean just highly trained tech people affording that. I mean minimum wage workers should be able to afford that. So that's where I am. And just so you know, that's the kind of commentary you're going to get here. But before we get into any news, and there's a lot, I like to do some commentary. What's up, Curtis? Me and you, Rob, we are extreme radicals because we think you should work one job. And by the way, because I know how hard Curtis works, I see how hard my wife works, I see how hard so many people work. I don't mean working one job 80 hours a week. I mean one job 30 hours a week should be able to survive. 30 hours. We are long gone from the 40-hour work week. F that noise. You should be able to work 25 to 30 hours a week. I think it should be maybe less, maybe 24 hours. I think we should be at a 3-day work week, and you should be able to afford to live, like, easily. I don't understand how some people can hoard all the wealth and we're still infighting between each other. So me and Curtis, radical. Good to see you, Curtis. Thanks for joining the live. But before we get into that, this movie has been floating around my head for a week now, and I can't get it out. I'm going to have to watch it. I'm going to have to actually, you know what? I'm going to have to buy this movie and watch it with my kids. If you've never seen Free Willy, it was an iconic movie from the 90s. Free Willy involved an orca whale, Willy. And this story kind of has roots in a real life orca whale in captivity story. Link down below. Oh, if you're new here, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I try to link all the articles I plan to talk about down in the description. Right now, this Free Willy being an anti-establishment radical movie from the 90s. That's why I think a lot of the kids in the 90s grew up kind of similar to myself, with not an anti-establishment, but we don't trust the government, just like the kids of the 60s. What is going on? Pitar, Moin, Natalie, hello. Solus, what's going on, man? Oh, and we have a Discord. But yes, please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you want to read anything after the live stream, I link it down below. But Free Willy, if you're young or too old and you missed this iconic movie from the 90s. By the way, this movie was back when artists used to write songs for movies. If you haven't heard the song Will You Be There, I think it's called, by Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson wrote that song for the movie Free Willy. Like, that's where we were as a society. Could you imagine if Taylor Swift was just like, I'm just writing a song for this movie? Never have. They had to probably pay her $1 billion. She wouldn't probably even want to do it. I mean, I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong. But back in my day, like movies like Judgment Night, that was a bunch of collabs on the record. The original The Crow, if you've ever seen that, I bought that soundtrack on cassette and listened to it for the Stone Temple Pilots main theme song of the movie. But I feel like artists used to do that. What happened? How have we gotten suckier as a nation? We still do that, but none of them are actually good anymore. John Johnson, tell me, or Johansson, please tell me what artists write songs just specifically for movies. I mean, maybe I'm too old and I'm just not hip with it. No, I know there are still people scoring movies iconically, but Free Willy, if you remember that movie, Michael Jackson wrote, maybe because I kept listening to the Michael Jackson song Will You Be There, because I could put that on repeat. That's just a banger. It's one of his greatest. That's when he got all choir, like very religious theme in the song. He had that, I don't know what you call it, gospel, like the gospel choir in the background. Amazing, amazing piece. If you haven't heard it, listen to it after this. Um, Solus, did you see the original Crow? I will not watch that new Crow. I don't know what rubbish that is, but the one with Brandon Lee. If you listen to the soundtrack, it's like Fuel, Tool, Stone Temple Pilot. I don't know who's on. There's a bunch of people. The Cure wrote a song for it. And this used to happen like all the time in the 90s. And Michael Jackson wrote that song, Will You Be There, for the movie. Iconic, iconic songwriter, iconic song. I mean, everything about it. I don't know how it did at the box office. I know I seen that movie. It was an old one? Okay, then yeah, it was the Brandon Lee one. That movie, Brandon Lee actually died in the filming of that. In the scene where they're shooting him and he's on the table as the Crow. One of the armor must have had a real ammo, not blank, and we lost Brandon Lee. Tragic story with his family too. Losing his dad, losing him. Just tragedies. But not talking about The Crow, although I could do a whole live stream on The Crow, one of my favorite movies. Free Willy. This movie is so, thinking about it as an adult, and the way that a major Warner Brothers allowed this film to be created and put out, and Michael Jackson, of course, put the theme song to it. But when you think about what this movie, if you've never seen it, it's about an orphan boy. This boy who's an orphan, it starts off, he's an orphan, he gets sent to a new family. Of course, a troubled orphan youth is gonna keep seeking trouble, right? Hurt people hurt people. So he needs some stability. And this orphan boy and vandalizes, he graffitis a theme park. But it's not your typical theme park, it's like a SeaWorld. It's essentially an aquatic theme park. I'm just gonna call it like a SeaWorld, because that's all we can relate it to here in America. And this boy vandalizes the quote unquote SeaWorld aquatic theme park where there's an orca there, gets busted, and his punishment is to clean it. The boy ends up falling in love with the animals there. He falls in love with this whale. He has empathy for it because the whale, just like him, was taken from his family or abandoned, or they have a bond over that they have solidarity from their loneliness, or they're seeking, family. Which is just, I mean, when you say this story out loud, it is so radical. It addresses the orphan issue, the disenfranchised youth. The kid then vandalizes SeaWorld, which is effing radical. That's awesome. He's like, fuck this place. But he didn't have the right morals in place to vandalize it. He was just being a disenfranchised youth. But I think the sentiment was there, like, vandalize this place. Then as he's cleaning up the vandalization, he falls in love with the plight of this whale, this orca whale in captivity. And eventually, I don't want to spoil it, I know this is like a 30-year-old movie, but he frees Willy. He breaks Willy out of the shackles and the confines of his small little pool and frees him into the ocean. And I mean, as a kid, it was just a cool ass movie. You wanted to see that whale jump over you, the iconic scene where he's standing on the jetty and the whale's jumping over him. He's like, ah! Michael Jackson's Will You Be There starts playing. I mean, when you think about that, it's iconic stuff. And listening to that song, every time I hear the song, I can't stop thinking about how amazing that movie was. Not saying they're not making great movies like that today, but that movie, wholeheartedly, I don't know who wrote it. I should have looked it up. My bad. Wholeheartedly is anti-establishment. From the orphaned youth to the graffiti to the breaking a whale out of captivity. That whole movie is activism. Activism 101 for children. And it's amazing. And now I gotta have my kids watch it tonight. I'm gonna force them. I don't care what they say. They're gonna watch that movie. It's gonna be family bonding, forced. But I'm telling you, go back and watch it or read the article I linked below, because then when you dive deeper into the story of Free Willy, there was an orca whale in captivity named Kiko. I think he was the first orca whale. He was caught off of Iceland. One of the first orca whales caught into captivity. And through that movie, somehow it raised awareness about Kiko. Warner Brothers, I think, had told people, like, don't worry, the whale that this movie's based on is fine, he's fine. Turns out he was swimming laps in a pool in Mexico City and got thousands of phone calls and letters from all these kids that wanted to have a happy ending for the whale Kiko, the orca in real life, like Willy did. And it turns out, I think Warner Brothers, there was a lot of money and a lot of time invested into getting Kiko better accommodations, trying to free him. Now, Kiko, sad story, he died very young from pneumonia or something obviously he shouldn't have, a whale or orca whale shouldn't have died from. But that's the kind of thing that our media is missing today. Don't get me wrong, I love that Disney movies, focus on self-worth and inclusivity. I think that is amazing and important. But where's the radical activism? It inspires me. It makes me want to write a movie like that. Like, that is one of the most perfect movies. You could probably do it a little better nowadays, but to 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 understand what was going on in Free Willy as an adult makes me just appreciate the youth of the 90s that much more. Hit the free like button. Oh, thank you. What's up, Terry? We're talking about the movie Free Willy. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Free Willy, and I linked an article down below done by The Guardian about the true story behind it, the repercussions of that movie coming out, and a little kid, orphan kid in the movie that a graffiti artist, a tagger, orphan child in the movie Free Willy that became an activist to free that orca whale, led many kids to want to know about the real life orca whales in captivity, which is fucking brilliant. If you ever wonder why Ben Shapiro, The Wire, and all those right-wing maggots all want to start children's programming, it's because they want to poison their minds. They want to teach them something from a young age. And then if you ever wonder why the school system is so lackadaisical on teaching you anything like life-saving skills, CPR, or taxes, or how the economy really works with purchasing power done by consumers, and people actually have to have money to make the economy go. It's not based on the stock market or Wall Street's expectations. If you ever wonder why this is lacking from our school systems, it's because if you get people at a young age and teach them something, they won't question it. And Free Willy taught us to question everything. That orphan kid, whatever his name in the movie was, I don't know what the actor's name is. I think the kid in the movie was Jesse. But he inspired a generation of young activists to go out and try to free orca whales. I mean, they were doing it at the time. Indoctrination. Thank you, Terry. That is correct. Amazing. I saw it, made me cry. I'm going to watch it again, Terry. I'm going to purchase it, and I am going to force my children to watch this and make them understand how important, how vital media was in the 90s. Now it's so convoluted and polluted. And again, this is really why, like, you see right-wing people lean heavy into this youth cartoons and youth programming, which that's why here on my channel I started a series. I've only done 2 of them. I kind of got disappointed in myself at how much I did not do a good job in them, but I did 2 of them, and they're child friendly, and they're called Revolution. What is it called? The Revolutionary Classroom. I did one on Tupac, one on Abby Hoffman, because I too believe that there are certain important things, like I teach my children, and especially ways to think differently about stuff outside of the traditional way to think of things. And it's vital for kids to see that, experience it, hear that. That's why people hate, or that's why people call it woke, and they hate it, because you wake up to a new idea, you think a new way, you break from that traditional norm. Unfortunately for the anti-woke crowd, is that everybody who has ever progressed society was woke because they woke up to a new idea. They thought a different way that hadn't been thought before. You can go back to what, Galileo, where he was like, yo, we do not have the universe float around the earth. And they were like, home jail, house arrest. Be a free thinker, question everything, 100%. The employees did absolutely nothing to help the animal. Remember when the employer handler at SeaWorld who was attacked and killed? Yeah, I was living in San Diego at that time. But that's a touchy subject. You never want to see anyone die, but again, I hold responsibility at the CEOs, the people who are profiting off of SeaWorld at that time, because they're putting, and listen, my brother was working at SeaWorld, okay? He was animal husbandry, and this was before he was homeless. He's been homeless for over a decade now, but he pursued that, and he loved animals. He wanted to, he spoke the language of animals, which some people speak that. And I think a lot of people that are in there want well for animals and really want to take care of them and make their shitty situation the best it can be. So I blame the people who are ultimately profiting about that. Woke and awakening are totally different things. I would argue that they're very similar. Awakening to things, awakening is kind of the verb of it, right? Well, they're both. You woke up. I guess they're both verbs, but I would consider woke being, hyper aware of all that's going on, seeing through the BS, seeing through the matrix. Awakening, unless you're talking about spiritually, well, then there are some differences. But I really wanted to just point that out, because that's been floating around my mind all week, and I didn't have a moment to talk about it here, but I felt like tonight was a good time to address Free Willy. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have kids and they haven't seen it, have them watch it. Because the news is just not good. Well, I mean, I don't want to say it's not good, but it's just, I think, if you're talking about woke being an agenda, it's not. It's 100% not. There's no agenda for being woke. Woke literally means, and again, this is coming from people who are way more familiar with that movement than I am. But woke is not an agenda. Woke means you understand where it's the origins of it, and what it's used as is 100% not an agenda. Racism is real.